Chair now recognizes the sponsor of the bill, Mr. Walberg, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to strike the last word and speak proudly in favor of my legislation, H.R. 4468.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
H.R. 4468, the Choice in Automobile Retail Sales, or CARS Act. Americans need reliable, affordable, and functional modes of transportation. I asked Mr. Goffman, the EPA official who testified at the subcommittee legislative hearing, if each of these aspects are important. He agreed that all Americans should have access to reliable, available, functional, and affordable cars and trucks. He did not believe that federal rules should make cars and trucks less available, less affordable, and less functional for consumers and their needs. He also admitted the multi-pollutant tailpipe emissions rule didn't really factor those things into its calculation, even though the facts are that prices are rising. When pressed, he would not commit as to whether this rule would raise vehicle purchase prices for consumers or make small trucks and SUVs less available. Finally, he dodged giving an answer when I asked him if he would insert a regulatory off-ramp into the light and medium-duty rule if new vehicles become more expensive or unreliable, auto choice or functionality is limited, or those cars and trucks are unavailable to American consumers. This is unacceptable, forcing a major change in how Americans live, particularly in rural districts like mine, without taking care to prevent harmful outcomes. EPA may have the luxury of avoiding the need to examine life outside the Beltway, and it certainly does not stand for election to answer for its choices, but we do. I introduced the CARS Act to help prevent the dreams Mr. Goffman expressed from becoming a nightmare for Americans. First, it stops EPA's proposal to require that 2/3 of all new cars sold by 2032 be an electric vehicle. This is the same rule that the trade group representing car manufacturers in the U.S., the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, said was neither reasonable or achievable, end quote, in proposed regulations' 10-year time frame. Even the UAW is on record claiming the rule insufficiently addresses charging infrastructure or accounting for the role of cars with internal combustion engines, as well as calling for substantial changes to this proposed rule that recalibrate its standards to reflect more feasible emissions levels that reflect technology that can be feasibility complied with over a longer window. In Michigan, when the automakers and the unions are both raising red flags that something is really wrong, people listen, and so should we. Second, the CARS Act tries to step in and prevent a similar problem in the future with the regulations issued under this section of the Clean Air Act. Section 3 of H.R. 4468 prevents EPA from mandating a specific technology, which I believe includes drafting a standard in such a way that it knows only one technology can meet it. It also prevents EPA from issuing regulations that limit the availability of a particular vehicle engine for the ultimate consumer. My colleagues, EPA's job is to identify emissions and that endanger health or welfare. If EPA intends to set emission standards that are economically and technically feasible, this provision should not be a problem. However, if EPA decides to tune up greenhouse gas and criteria pollution standards to create a de facto technology or engine mandate, this bill will prevent it. It's not EPA's job to decide what is best for Americans and assume it got it right. On that note, I ask for unanimous consent in order to enter 3 letters of support into the record from the Consumers Energy Alliance, the National Tank Truck Carriers, API, and AFPM. In advancing the CARS Act, consumers and their needs, not the government and its political biases, will drive auto innovation, secure functionality, and promote affordability. And affordability is especially important considering that the Inflation Reduction Act's subsidies disappear as soon as the EPA rule becomes fully implemented. leaving many consumers without mobility options, yet making these subsidies permanent defies fiscal sanity. I appreciate the subcommittee forwarding this bill to the full committee for consideration, and I urge all members to support the safety valve that is H.R. 4468. It's good for preserving Americans' affordable and reliable mobility, promoting Americans' domestic automobile economy, and protecting Americans' national security. And I yield back.